Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today we are not at Red Tool House. We are at our camp up in the mountains, a higher elevation of eastern West Virginia, about 2 hours away from home. And we're going to be working this weekend on getting our off-grid shower super nice, super sexy, and hopefully finalized and put in place for good. So let me show you what we've got going on. Okay, so of course as soon as I start the camera it starts raining again. So we'll do this in the rain. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the channel, I won't try to backtrack too much, but just simply 2-acre off-grid camp in the high elevation of West Virginia mountains. My folks and my family, we hang out here all the time. That's Mom and Dad's RV. We sleep under this deck that I made from milled lumber, and have a tent there so we can have the rain cover, some area storage there. But back over here on this corner, everybody spin around. We have our bathroom with our vermicomposting toilet. We've done some videos about that already. And we have our off-grid shower. And we're upgrading that massively right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this Camp Lux propane water heater. So this is, in the research that I've done, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, the research I've done, this seems to be probably one of the better entry-level camp, outdoor camp grade propane instant water heaters. So you got a propane tank that you'd have off a gas grill, no problem there. And of course this kit came with even came with the hoses, everything you need, even a little 12-volt pump that will be able to pump water up out of a reservoir through the heater and to our shower head. So where's our water coming from? We don't have a well on this property. Well, the water's coming from rain catchment you see behind me here. So this is a 10 by 20 deck that we built with a metal roof, single slope, and gutter line across the back, so it fills up the tote. So my folks came up here a couple weeks ago, since the chance of freezing had passed, and closed the valves on our tank here, and then we also have one on our toilet. That's how we flush the toilet. So you can see just in the rain we've had over the past couple weeks, we've got a little less than a quarter full of tank, and that's a 300-gallon IBC tote. So we've got a decent amount of water we need to play with there to do what we need to do. So nestled in the woods here is our 4x8 bathroom. So that's got a flushing toilet, and again, I've already detailed that, so I won't get into that too much. But when you come up the steps here, behind this area is a roof that we put in with treated deck, of course, with some gaps in the slats there so water can drain through. And for the last 2 years we've just hung a shower bag here and showered to have tarps stretched across. Shower bag's simple, we just heat water up on the campfire or leave it out and let the sun heat it up, those type of typical shower bags you get. Well, then the end of the year last year we added the roof with the plan of adding the water heater and going to put a wood surround around here with even a swinging door here, so we don't have to stretch the tarps. Tarps work fine. It's just, I don't know, even for West Virginia it was a little too redneck for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here with this section of wall. We're going to put up our half wall, and this is where we're going to put our water heater. We're going to have it there. Propane tank will be down here on the floor below me, and then down, let me move down there and show you. And down here underneath the deck is a 55-gallon drum that will fill up. So we'll get water from our rain catchment. We'll get water from the rain catchment tank there over here into the 55-gallon drum, and then we'll be able to drop our line down in so our 12-volt pump will lift water out, run it through the heater, and go. So that's what we're going to work on. So we'll play around in rain. It's actually late in the evening, so we may do the majority of this tomorrow, but we'll bring you guys in on it. Okay, for the sake of privacy and of course not having tarps stretched, we're going to put some wood that came off the mill. So this is poplar that I milled 1x7 wide, so 1 inch thick, 7 wide. And we're going to put that, you can see the horizontal treated 2x4s I put there. So we're going to put that staggered. So we'll have a board, go gap of 2 inches, board 2 inches. You may think, wait a minute, 2 inches, that's way too much of a peephole. Well, on the opposite side, we're going to do the exact same thing, but just offset half. So it should be like a picket privacy fence, if that's such a thing, where these will act as pickets on one side with a gap, but on the other side we'll have the same with the gap offset. So one board should be covering the gap up on the other side. So instead of trying to describe it, I'll just show you. All right, so I got those first boards in, needed 6 there, and it gives me that privacy that we want, but also you still give some airflow. Now granted, the whole place is wide open, the floor's slatted as well, but that airflow, keep those boards from getting wet and rotty. Since it is poplar, we'll have to put some finish on it since it'll be exposed to the weather, but this will provide all the privacy we need. You can see, unless you're a peeping Tom and you're trying to peek in there, then you're not going to have any gaps. So the plan will be turn that way, of course, that's 7 feet length back there, do the 7 feet and turn and do the last 2 feet, boxed in just that way. The reason why I started here is this is where I want to hang the water heater and be able to get that installed. So I can actually, maybe Dad and I work on that tomorrow while my mom and Cam work on putting up the wall. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so we got our walls up, and then we decided to cut a piece of galvanized metal for the shower face. This T111 here, even though we treated it with oil, it was starting to warp and rot a little bit because there's just so much moisture here with the shower, and it's north facing, blah, blah, blah. So putting in the galvanized, the tin roofing metal here, all the way to, see if we can do this, all the way to the floor. Somebody's stomach's in the way. Then that'll keep that from getting as much moisture contact. We'll mount our shower head about right here. For all the short people, us tall people would like to have it higher up, but we'll probably mount it right here at the base or at the top of the galvanized. Okay, so we've got the heater in place, just mounted here on this wall. As you saw, I've got our propane tank hooked up. The blue line goes down to a 12-volt pump that then goes into our bucket, which we're going to test with the bucket right now. We have a barrel underneath there. And then the clear line is an extension because they don't give you enough red hose to go very far. In fact, they'll give you enough red hose that you pretty much have to shower over top of it. And I don't know, I got to read the instructions. I wouldn't think you'd want to get water down in that, but maybe you can handle it. So water line going up, across the ceiling, then it goes back to their red with a quick connect. And then we've got it mounted here in our handy little spot so we can take a shower. So we're not going to put any heat to it yet. First we want to test that pump. And you may be asking, well, Troy, how are you getting 12 volt here on your off-grid? Well, what we're going to do is use our Jackery that we just acquired here recently. Not sponsored by any of these companies right now, but this Jackery has been working great. So all I did is take an old cigarette lighter wire with a cigarette lighter plug, 12 volt plug it into the Jackery, and then under here we have our 12 volt pump mounted. Get out of the sun there. So 12 volt pump, got my ground hooked up. Just hold it right there. So I'm going to turn the 12 volt of the Jackery on. We're going to touch hot to hot. And we got pump working. Okay. So now before we turn the heat on, we're going to put some water in our bucket, do a little test, and just see what kind of pressure we get. Just pour it all in there. That's good. Thanks. All right, so I haven't read the instructions. I don't think there's anything you turn on if we're not doing heat. So if I turn the pump on, it should run water through the shower head. But we're going to move my circular saw first because while it's dirty, we don't want to give it a bath. Probably should go to the screws too. All right, Camo, do me a favor. Hit the, turn the DC switch on. Go ahead. And then push the end of that blue nozzle down in the water. A bit of a water leak. All right, turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off.
Well, I'll test if your Jackery works.
That's a good way to test if the Jackery's waterproof. Idiot. I think we got a bit of a leak.
And silt it.
And we put it right there by the salt too, so. And the screws. That's real life, folks. Okay, our new connection is not very watertight, so we got to fix that. It could be cross-threaded. Let's take it. All right. So the issue we had was somebody not reading the instructions. So me, the black adapter that came with it is so you can hook up their red and blue lines, which are, I don't know if they're proprietary. They're like a little bit under 3/4 inch, but they included brass fittings. So I had a 3/4 inch NPT adapter, which is what I needed to hook up to my new clear hose that we created. So you see here where that white line, clear line is attaching, it is brass and should be good to go. So now we've moved the Jackery away from everything. We'll see. So the Jackery can take about a cup of water on top of it and not blow up. But went ahead and turned the propane tank on because I heard the igniter ignite. There's no on and off switch on any of this stuff. So when it goes, it goes. So we're going to turn our pump on. We're going to put our hose back in the water. Voila! Water. You see the steam coming off of it. So she's toasty warm there already. All right, so now we know the mechanics of all that worked the way it's supposed to. She drew plenty of water, had decent pressure. Nothing I expect out of that tiny little pump. It'd be crazy. But I'm sure that's all in line with how much water it can heat and the speed that it can heat it. But we've got, obviously what we want to do is not just have it that you push the button on the jackery to turn the pump on. We're going to wire up a switch, and that way the jackery can be a little further away and not be in the spray of water. And that way you can turn it off and control it right there. The way this Camp Lux works, just like any of these other water heaters, is this is what we'll play around with. I believe we have temperature control clearly, and then this may be flow control, but I don't know. I didn't see. There's no rheostat on the pump, but it may be something that controls here that determines the amount of pressure, because it says water minimum max. And again, if somebody would read the instructions, then we'd know the answers to this. But who likes to do that? We like to just plow ahead. All right, so Dad wired the switch up high here. And again, we're only dealing with 12 volts, so nothing crazy there as far as safety issues go. Switch leg comes down, comes to our pump, goes to our 12 volt lead. We can plug it into the jackery here. Turn it on. And there we go, we've got power. Turn our switch on. There she goes. Bucket's out of water, so she's not working too good. A lot of air. All right, now it's time to sexy it up, and I also want to build a door right here where I'm standing so we can have some privacy. All right, so now the question is, do I put the handle high where I like to reach it, or low where it should be normal for everybody? I guess we'll go low. Oh, we'll drop the screws. All right, so there we have a spring hinge door to close, and it's a little bit of a tight fit. I think as soon as our treated wood shrinks a little bit, then it'll be snug, and we'll actually probably have to put a stop on the other side. I don't know about you all, but it's time to get a shower. All right, so there's no better thing to do than to christen it. I'm going to give it the maiden voyage here. I feel as captain of the ship, I should take the biggest responsibility and risk. So we'll see how it goes. Now, if this was one of those off-grid channels with the much younger couple, then we could have much more exciting thumbnails. But unfortunately, you just got me, and that's all the thumbnails are. So, apologize. I got the power. Helps if I put the water line down in the tank. Going in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and turn our pump on. We got our hose dropped in there. Just heard it kick on. There it goes. There it goes. Oh, it's warm. It's gone. I don't know if my hose may be sticking up in the tank. Yeah, it's getting a lot of air. It's nice and warm. May have curled back around. In fact, it's downright hot. Okay, we're going to give it a go here. I've got my hose stuck down in a 6-gallon tote tank, but the hose is curled, so we'll obviously have to put an inlet on our tank and make sure, or weight that keeps that inlet, that keeps the suction part down so it doesn't get air. But let's go ahead and turn it on here. There's drawing water. Okay, so that is water volume. Okay. Yeah, as typical, obviously the more water you run, the more gas you need, more heat. So when I had more water coming out, then of course it got cooler. So you control the water volume will also help control your temperature. So it's kind of a two-stage thing. All right, well, I'm going to cut it off here because you all don't need to see me shower. All right, that was incredible. That was definitely worth all the work we put into it. I'll have to check and see how much water we actually used, and we'll do that here in a second. But the Jackery, what was that running at? 30 watts? Yeah, so that pump was drawing 30 watts, which is nothing. In fact, charging my iPhone, I think we determined those were pulling like 16 watts when you and I charged, when Cam and I charge our iPhones. So that pump was only pulling 30 watts, which means that's going to last a long time. Water got instantly hot. As long as we can keep that inlet obviously submerged, which that's no problem. We'll even have a tank maybe with the side inlet or weight it, something there to put it down in. So that worked well. So I took a shower without turning the water off. Obviously washed my hair, body and everything, without turning the water off. So I want to see how much water we consumed. So let's check that out. Okay, so that looks like, this is a 6-gallon tank. So it looks like my full shower took about, there's probably a gallon left in there. So that was a 5-gallon shower. So that was a little opulent for camp, but is what it is, right?
Oh gosh, I didn't mean that. I had to turn it off before doing that. Anybody know Big Tail the Tail? What is that?
Wind's changed. It's coming up the valley now. I think that's where that cooler is.